Well, first and foremost, yeah, it was supposed to be this year's Record Ripoffs episode this week, but the 10th anniversary episode took so long to do that it's thrown my production schedule out of whack. So I'm adding an extra week between episodes, and I'm just going to try something totally experimental on my part here. And I don't think I'm terribly qualified to do repair videos, but for something this minor, I'll give it a shot. We'll just see what happens. This is totally informal, totally off the cuff. You can probably hear the air conditioning going in the background. You might hear the obnoxious neighbor kids next door through this. It's just one of those days where it's nice enough that everybody is out and being obnoxious today. So anyway, to get things started here, this is just a little novelty noisemaker from Radio Shack. I think it dates to 1983, and this belonged to my dad, and he passed it down to me, I think, while I was still in high school. And at the time, I hadn't quite gotten in the habit yet of taking old batteries out. So, yeah, I think this had Duraleaks in it at some point. Of course, my wonderful, wonderful camera just hates working. So hopefully you can see down in there if I can force the light in there. Just trust me, it's a whole lot of battery corrosion down there. It's an acid party. Alas, no Pink Floyd. And it looks like I might have to try and do a little work on the cover, too. This foam, which seems to be the same stuff as, I don't know, maybe an 8-track pad or something, but it is rotting on me. It's kind of flaking all over the place on the lid here. And also, just because I can, I'm going to go ahead and open this up and just take a look down there. I'd kind of like to know what kind of thing they were using to make the noises. Maybe just a little EEPROM chip or something would be my guess. So anyway, let me put the microphone down, and we'll just start digging around, and I'll have to maybe yell a bit. And you gotta have the good old JIS screwdrivers. Your screwdrivers ain't no good if they ain't jizz. And it should give us that nice first time crack, because I've never opened this. No, not really. Maybe the top one. Yeah, that's what I'm after. Alright, so I've got them loose, at least. Some of this may devolve into a montage. There we go. And it is... looks like it's hidden down in there. I guess I'll have to find another screwdriver and pull it out. Just because. Well, it took all the buttons with it. That's going to be fun to put back together. Fun to put back together. See what happens when I don't have a script. So, yeah, that's interesting. I was expecting a little chip or something down in there. Oh well. Bottom line is I have this all apart. Well, that is thoroughly underwhelming. Got a capacitor in there. Resistor LED. So it must be right in the board. So that's actually a bit more primitive than I expected. Oh well. I think I might go ahead and put it back together right now. I don't see anything in there that I think is going to be a problem for cleaning out the corrosion. Okay, put my microphone right in the middle of the shot. Okay, I did notice one thing here before I close this back up. I don't think my flashlight's going to help a whole lot. But if you look at the wiring in there, it looks like the... yeah, I have a Band-Aid on my middle finger. I was trying to flip off a lawnmower. Didn't go too well. Anyway, looks like the Dura can't hold its cell togethers that were in here made it all the way down in there. So that might explain even more why it doesn't work. Okay, so all I've got on me is this oversized Home Depot bucket. I don't need anything that big, but I'm just going to try the good old-fashioned conventional baking soda and water, make it more on the baking soda side of things, and hopefully I prefer using a wire brush when I deal with this stuff. My fear is I don't own anything small enough to really get in there, but we'll just have to see what happens. Alright, this is anyone's guess whether or not it works, but as I've already mentioned, we'll just start with the conventional and see what happens. So, as I mentioned, I prefer to use a proper wire brush as opposed to an old toothbrush when things are corroded as badly as they are in here. And to do that, I just I keep a stock of some of this stuff around. These things that you can pick up at Ace Hardware, they have bins of cheap, crappy Chinese parts. And, yeah, better to be out $3 than to be out $30 for something really nice. And I have not used this set yet. I have just noticed, even though I've had it kicking around for a few years. So I will take another cut here. Yeah, in a moment. I do want to show off my Merc there. I would guess this is probably about 70 to 80% baking soda. Not quite paste, obviously, but hopefully it's got enough heft to it. So let me find some scissors, open this up, and then we will start trying to get this corrosion out. Okay, 3 brushes in the pack, all of varying, I don't know what you want to call it, strength. So this is the least powerful one, so to speak, of the lot. It's still far more powerful than a toothbrush, far more stiff, but not, outright steel like some of the other stuff, true steel wool kind of stuff. And of course, this is one of those tricky things where you don't really want to pour it on either. And of course, nobody's ever going to mistake this for a good, credible repair channel. This is going to be the tricky part, doing this without destroying the paper down there, just telling us, what batteries to use. But it's just so bad down there. Hey, made in China, even back then. So I'm still working at getting the corrosion out, but I did notice that the screws, the 2 main screws, are built in to this. I actually ran around for a couple of minutes thinking I had dropped them somewhere. So one thing to keep in mind here. And I've let my mix kind of sit for a bit and kind of separate. So I don't know if that's going to make a whole lot of difference here, but at least it visibly sticks to the brush now. Again, I'm not too thrilled about potentially destroying the paper in there, but it's it's self-explanatory if you've done enough battery stuff, and of course if you screw it up you got a 50-50 shot. Yeah, did exactly what I was afraid I would do. Okay, I'm still cleaning out this thing, but I wanted to get this shot while the daylight was hitting my towel just right. So, for one, I'm being a lot more reckless than I normally would be with something like this, because this is not a rare piece. I could fleabay another one for a few bucks. But I noticed in my using, some might argue, excessive amounts of baking soda, it's been clinging to the corrosion, and it's been kind of coming off, and it's initially kind of the consistency of cake frosting, and it's been hardening into kind of almost like sugar crystals on me. So I thought I would just quick get that in there while the sun was hitting the towel just right so it would stand out. And the white, if I turn these over as best as I can, is the baking soda, and the yellow is the corrosion. I'm sure I'm going to get people yelling at me in the comments left and right over this, but again, for what it is. And the little sticker I've been fighting with this whole time, it was already a little shredded. I just pulled it out with a pair of tweezers gently, so when I get this all cleaned back out, even though this thing doesn't, mean all that much, just in the name of keeping it original, I'm going to put a little either double-sided tape on this or a little glue and stick it back in there the way it had been. All right, so I'm going to get back to cleaning now, but I just wanted to get that in there real quick. Okay, before I put this back together, since I did such a hit-and-run job looking at this part of it, I thought I would just go ahead and spotlight it real quick. Yeah, Radio Shack did not put that much love into it, but enough, I suppose. We're dealing with a 1/4 watt, 8 ohm speaker, and magnetic, as I just discovered. So I'll have to demagnetize that later, because these are the same ones I use on my tape gear, and so on. Otherwise, a whole lot of hot glue and a whopping, it looks like 4 wires. And this time, I actually got one of the screws. Here I was thinking there was a washer in the lid somewhere, but nope. So yeah, there's truly not much shaken to this thing, as it turns out. But I am done cleaning it. I'm going to give it a quick test before I try and fix the lid, the cover, or put the sticker back in, because I think it would be just a waste of time otherwise. So sit tight. Because I'm a strong believer in irony, I went and stuck a couple of half-deads of the not so durable cell in there. They're more than good enough to test. So there is no power button to this, there is no volume, there is no nothing. But let's see if I was able to clean the contacts enough to make this live again. Yup. Bombs away. Rat-a-tat. Quick shot. Laser shot. Yep. And blaster. Truly out of the Atari age. Alright, so I think this thing lived, so I'm gonna replace the foam on this bad boy, reinstall the sticker, put this back together, give it one more shot, make sure I didn't destroy anything, and I'm gonna call it a day with this. Okay, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I went and I reinstalled the sticker to let you know which way the batteries go in the little diagram. I just gave it a little spritz of Scotch 77 spray glue, or 3M, whatever you want to call it. And it's kind of, sort of holding, only time will tell. Now, I was going to stick an 8-track foam pad on the battery cover here, but it was just a little too big, a little too thick, and so the best thing I had as an alternative just around was some small window seal, and I've used some of this, and this stuff is not very good, but it should work okay. To reinforce it, I put a little double-sided tape underneath it. So I guess all that's left to do is for me to jam the batteries back in here. They're just as awkward as ever. Give it one last test, make sure I didn't destroy it, and have this thing back to the way it was when it used to sit on my father's desk back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and found its way to me, and he would hate it when I would press any buttons on this thing, and after testing this that last time, I can't say I'm too surprised. But if he was in a bad enough mood, he would hit buttons on this, and yeah, kind of a silly thing when you think about it. But it is a stress eliminator. I don't know if that's too true for me. So I'll just leave the camera running, if only to show how awkward it is getting the batteries down in here. It took me a while the first time, and it's still not quite doing it. You have to hit it just right. And I think these batteries are going to the trash when I'm done with this. Yep, I think it lives. Okay, let's make sure this fits. And I'll have to wipe this down. Yeah, I think it's just fine. Yeah, I'm gonna say she lives just fine. So I'm gonna... It looks okay on camera, but it does have a lot of fingerprints on it that I can see in person, and some leftover goop from the stuff I was using. But yeah, I think this will live to annoy another day. I'll talk to you again soon. And let me know in the comments if you want to see just the occasional very minor, very Bush League repair video out of me. I did this largely just for a change of pace, to get away from all the Ben's junks and stuff, and give me another option. So again, let me know in the comments. I'll talk to you again soon. And yes, it should be record rip-offs next week.